Good morning, everyone. Welcome and attention, recruits. On your chat section, click onto that and you will see an Honors in Action Bootcamp cadence. Though I do ask everyone except for our guests and our alumni to turn off their microphones, except for the guests and alumni, I will ask everyone to repeat after me. So click on to your chat section to read the HRA Bootcamp cadence and repeat after me. I belong to PTK.
I
belong to
PTK.
I will conquer HIA.
I
will
conquer HIA.
I don't know what you've been told.
I don't know what you've been told.
PTK wears blue and gold.
PTK wears blue and gold.
HIA won't make you small.
HIA won't make you small.
Because I stand here brave and tall.
Because I stand here brave and tall.
Win awards is what I do.
Win awards is what I do.
With my team, new and true.
With my team, new and true.
Never doubt a word I say.
Never doubt a word I say.
PTK rules a day.
PTK rules a day.
NB.
NB. CA.
I am PTK. Huh.
I am PTK.
All right. Welcome, everybody, and recruits at ease. Good morning, everyone. My name is Christine Lowe. I am the drill sergeant for HIA Bootcamp, but any other day, I'm your Alumni Association president. It is a real treasure and an honor for you to be here this morning. So thank you for indulging us with this cadence. This is an Honors in Action Bootcamp. We have been preparing for months for this event, and we are so excited that you are here today. I will go ahead and share the screen so that we will begin our presentation. Just give me a moment. Moment here. Okay, wonderful. So again, welcome to Honors in Action Bootcamp. This is presented by the Nevada, California Regional Alumni Association. And regarding the bootcamp cadence, this is something that our Alumni Association worked on over the last several days here. And the reason that it's beginning to look like Army colors is that this is actually an homage to my grandfather. He is pictured here on the left screen. He served as a paratrooper instructor. So that meant during the Korean War. So he was able to teach soldiers how to jump off of planes and most importantly, how to land safely. That situation saved his life because back when he was dating my grandmother in the early 50s, he got into an auto accident. He flew 30 feet into the air, and because of his training, he was able to only suffer a broken leg. Otherwise, this would have been a life-threatening situation. The reason I have my grandfather's photo in here is that because he was a drill sergeant, he had a command and booming voice and presence. Unfortunately, I never inherited any of that. However, when it comes to leadership, I'm definitely Grandpa's granddaughter. So it's a true treasure and pleasure to be your Alumni Association president. We have some incredible guests today. It is overwhelming that all three of you are here, and I definitely want to take this opportunity to welcome Susan Edwards, our Associate Vice President of Honors Programming and Undergraduate Research, Patty Van Adder, a Chapter Outreach and Development Coordinator, and Ryan Martin, who is also our Chapter Outreach and Development Coordinator. Please wave your hands and welcome them to our Honors in Action Bootcamp. We also have another distinguished guest. It is Anna Thompson, the advisor, as well as the officer team of the Alpha Psi Zeta chapter from Feather River College in Quincy, California. They are special guests because they were our region's top winner for the Honors in Action project. And so they have a great presentation ahead, and we're really looking forward to hearing their story. I want to give a brief overview of what is ahead in your basic training. From 1000 to 11:55, we will have an Honors in Action presentation by Susan Edwards, followed by a question and answer session. The next presentation will be Research Edge and additional sources that are shown through Phi Theta Kappa's website, ptk.org, and that will be presented by Patty Van Adder and Ryan Martin. And then I will come back and give you an introduction to our upcoming Gung Ho Honors in Action workshop. The workshop will take 60 minutes from 1200 to 1 o'clock or 1300, and then we'll have a brief chow down break. And then after that, we'll have a feedback followed by a quick Q&A regarding the last two presentations, actually the workshop. And then the part 3 portion of our event will be a presentation from Feather River College. At the end of the event, we will have a raffle and prizes. And then finally, I will come back and give final announcements and thank you for all who have been a part of this very special event. Okay, I'll go ahead and go back here. I'm going to go ahead and stop my screen. And so I'd like to start off this presentation by introducing Susan Edwards. Susan's accomplishments abound, and even though I've known Susan for 11 years, in my California way of speaking, I geek out every time I see her. She is an amazing individual and wonderfully accomplished. Susan began her journey with Phi Theta Kappa 30 years ago in 1991 as an advisor. She was an advisor in one college and a founding advisor in another college in Texas, both winning the most distinguished chapter. And that's just the very beginning. She joined Phi Theta Kappa headquarters in 2007, and she has been involved in so many of our lives over the last 30 years. Everything from being a Fulbright Fellow and National Endowment for the Humanities grantee to Texas Professor of the Year, a Piper Professor by the Minnie Stevens Piper Foundation, a Mosel Scholar Award winner, the Chair of Phi Theta Kappa's Association of Chapter Advisors, as Humanities Representative to the Honors Program Council, she was the co-editor of Phi Theta Kappa's Leadership Development. She's a national facilitator of Phi Theta Kappa's Leadership Development Program certification seminars, and edits the Honors Program Guide and Civic Scholar, Phi Theta Kappa's Journal of Undergraduate Research publication. Again, it has been an honor to get to know Susan over the last few years, but it is a real privilege to honor my first guest, Susan Edwards.
Thank you so much, Christine, and welcome everybody. I geek out a little bit with Christine and with your entire Nevada, California regional alumni team. What they've put together for you is so impressive. And they're so dedicated to Phi Theta Kappa and to helping everybody in Phi Theta Kappa do their very best work, because it makes a difference for scholarships, it makes a difference for transfer, it makes a difference when you go out into the world and look for employment, for your passion, for your career, for jobs that you have. So thank you to all of them, to Marion Moody for organizing this and for allowing me to be a part of it. I'm really excited, and I'm excited to be here with Patty Van Adder and Ryan Martin, because they've been advisors for many years and have done incredible things in Phi Theta Kappa, and I know you're going to hear more about them. Coming to headquarters as our outreach and development coordinators, they're game changers. You're so lucky to be in Phi Theta Kappa at a time that they are here, and they are here for you and to answer questions. And we all want you to do your very best, but it's particularly exciting to have them at headquarters. And the other thing I wanted to mention was that I was 10 when I first started at Phi Theta Kappa, just in case you were wondering. Not really, but still, I say that every time. It's hard to believe that it's been 30 years, and that's exciting. Phi Theta Kappa has been a big part of my life, and I don't know why this is now not sharing. Let me go back and do this again. But I'm happy to be here to talk with you about Honors in Action. California, Nevada and California have been really impressive with your Honors in Action work. And I say that I'm really excited that Feather River is going to talk with you today, because they did extraordinary work this past year, and they are one of the entries, Honors in Action entries, that's in the 2021 edition of Civic Scholar. And I just saw the final proof yesterday. So you will be reading more about what they did, and of course hearing about it today, and that's exciting. All right, I don't know why this is just being very stubborn for me, because I can't see the PowerPoint, and I'm assuming then that you can. There we go. Woo! I wanted to talk to you today just for a few minutes about how to get started with Honors in Action. And again, Nevada, California has a really rich tradition of being very good with Phi Theta Kappa, with Honors in Action and Phi Theta Kappa. I do want to say, because we want you to do your very best, but we also want you to participate in Honors in Action, whether or not your first time out is the perfect project. And we want you to work on this, because we know Honors in Action helps us fulfill the second part of Phi Theta Kappa's mission to provide opportunities for college students to grow as scholars and leaders. And that's when you go through this process, that's what it's all about. And then I'm going to talk about the process, and know that with Honors in Action, it isn't always the biggest project that wins awards. It's not always even the most complete project that wins awards. It's a team that really works through the Honors in Action process and pays attention to the Honors in Action planning and judging rubric, and really works through thinking with the end in mind. And I'll talk a little bit more about that, because I'm going to start at the very beginning, that Phi Theta Kappa's Honors in Action program really starts with the 2020-21 Honors Program Guide. We're in our second year of our honors study topic. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a second, but the guide is your roadmap. The Honors in Action planning and judging rubric is in there, but so is the introduction to the honors study topic. So if you haven't had an opportunity to look at it, there are hard copies available, but we also have it online in PDF form, and you're welcome to print it out and use it. And there's a workbook as well that you can use. I know that Patty and Ryan are going to talk more about that and more about Research Edge. So I'm going to stop there, but take a look at that honors program guide. You want to start there. And I really appreciate the alumni team having you read the honors program guide and work with it today, because that's going to make a difference in your Honors in Action lives. So I mentioned the honors program guide because the cornerstone of Honors in Action is the honors study topic. It's a biennial topic. I mentioned we're in our second year of To the Seventh Generation, Inheritance and Legacy. And it's really important to know that, to know the topic. You're going to work on the topic through the 7 themes in this particular honors program guide. There are always different numbers of themes. We've got 7 of them, and they range from the theme 1 is the heirs of our ways, talking about children and how you create environments for them so that they can thrive as they grow older and leave their own legacies. And then theme 7 is life and death. I will tell you that Dr. Lynn Tincher Ladner, our president and CEO, calls it the weird theme, which I kind of like. It was sort of the last theme we did, then we ended up putting it in 7th place. But it's really looking at how we talk about life and death, and how different cultures look at it, and why that matters to inheritance and legacy. So You want to select one theme to research, always remembering that the theme is the lens through which you're looking at the honor study topic. That's one of the biggest errors that chapters make, and it's so fixable. So, for example, if you're looking at theme 1, you're looking at the errors of our ways, you're looking at children and various things that work in terms of helping them understand the inheritance, the people who have come before them, and the people who will come after, their legacy in the world. You're always looking, in this case, at inheritance and legacy through the lens of what it means for children. For probably people right in the middle of those 7 generations. So I'm going to say it one more time, that the theme is the lens through which you are studying the honor study topic. That people forget that sometimes and get so caught up in the themes, which is great, that they forget they're looking at inheritance and legacy. Really important. So let me give you an example of this. I chose theme 6. I tried to choose different themes throughout the book. Perceptions of progress. This one is in pages 18 through 19 of the Honors Program Guide. And you'll see in there an introduction to the theme and some resources that you might want to look at. And an overarching question for theme 6, it's how do inherited understandings of progress guide the future? This is a question that's there for you to see, are you in the right theme? Because there are so many ways that you can look at different things. And here's my example. Last month, there are several New York Times journalists who worked together on an article that showed that for the first time, the population of the world everywhere except Africa is declining. It's never happened like that except in times of virulent disease, but there seems to be a real progressive decline in the population. And there are lots of reasons for that. They look at those inherited understandings of progress and the fact that we expect that there will be more people, that they're going to live longer, that they're going to be more prosperous. That's especially true if you live in the United States and you are at all acculturated to the idea that it's a linear march up, since we're at a boot camp, or march forward. So we have populations moving backward is a really strange idea, and goes sort of against a perception of progress when you look at inheritance and legacy. And part of the article talks about the things that are really concerning about what we've inherited, what we're doing with it, and what legacy we're going to leave, because they're saying, if you have more older people than you have younger people, yay for that right now. But if you have that, then you potentially don't have enough people working or of working age who are helping to take care of an older population, which can be problematic. You potentially, have situations where people are getting older, and if the whole idea of maybe living to 200 happens, then what do you do? Do people, can they still take care of homes? Do you have places where they can live? Maybe they don't have families, who can take care of them if the population is skewed to be older. Parents who are having one or fewer children, that certainly happened for many years in China. It's happening in Europe. It's happening in the United States, that you particularly have people in cities who are having fewer children. Well, if, culturally we've relied as part of an inheritance in taking care of older people, but we don't have enough young people to do that, that is a possibility that's problematic. They also mention things like education. If you look at perceptions of progress and people wanting to go to university, but we've got, a lot of universities, a lot of community colleges, we've had sort of nothing but growth, especially with community colleges. But if you have fewer people, those institutions are going to have to consolidate. And that means some of them won't survive. There won't be enough, there won't be enough funds, there won't be enough people to take care of that. Now, on the other side, looking at a more positive legacy, perhaps, or just looking at other possibilities for legacy, the authors of the article talked about, there's a generation between the World War II generation and baby boomers. It's called the lucky few. And it's a rather small generation. And one of the things, there's a really cool book called The Lucky Few that talks about it. And said, that because there were fewer people, they had more access to jobs, they had more access to education, they had more access to scholarship money, and maybe all of those things would be the legacy of having people have fewer children. Maybe a legacy would be the environment would be more protected, that there would be a way to save the planet Earth if we didn't have as many children. So they looked at positive things as well as negative. So when you're looking at this, and the New York Times is, an article like this is just a starter. It's not an academic source, but there's lots of really rich information in something like this. And so that's what we want you to do is sort of, you can look at newspapers, you can look at TED Talks, you can look at things like that just to get ideas about where you want to go. And then, looking at the themes, well, where does this fit? Because this same article could be a trigger for looking at life and death. It could be a trigger for looking at the errors of our ways. It could be a trigger for looking at theme 3 in natural and constructed environments, because it has all sorts of implications there for inheritance and legacy. So you can have some fun, hopefully, brainstorming about where you'd like to go. And that's where we really recommend you start, just having some good conversations, thinking about it. Don't think at all about what the action piece of your project should be. Just have fun talking about possible themes, possible ideas, things that catch your eye, and things that you are passionate about, because you have to live with this for months at a time. It's really good practice for graduate school when you have to live with things through for months and months, possibly years and years, and you want to be sort of in love with it as you're working with it. So let's look at this. So you've picked a theme, you've got some ideas about where you might go with research. Set some research objectives. It's really important, and this is one of the things that chapters miss very often. So I wanted to really mention it. And research objectives are things like, our team will work with or invite a research librarian to work with us to talk about possibilities, brainstorm with us, talk about academic sources, help us navigate the places we can go to find these academic sources. It could be, we would like to use 20 resources, academic resources, and then select the best, most meaningful 8 to go with our Honors in Action Hallmark Award entry. I mean, that's pretty simple, right? Those are things, objectives that you start with beforehand. It could be an objective that we will, as a team, develop our research question. You notice that's the second bullet point there. And you can find a whole idea about how to do a research question on page 29 of the Honors Program Guide. So you want to have research objectives. You will also eventually have action objectives and collaboration objectives, but you want all 3 for Honors in Action. So start with those research objectives as you really begin your investigation. And you'll have some sense of what you want to do when you look at the guide and you look at the Honors in Action planning rubric. And I've got it here as the planning rubric. It's on pages 22 through 24 of the Honors Program Guide. You can also find it online, but it's also the judging rubric. That's where you begin with the end in mind. You're looking exactly at what judges look at when you submit your Honors in Action Hallmark Award entries, and you know what's expected of you. So then you want to develop a research question. That's not the overarching question. Remember, that overarching question is there to tell you if you're in the right theme or whether you need to move themes, which is perfectly acceptable. But it can help guide you, because if you notice the overarching questions, they all ask something about inheritance and legacy. So when you're developing your research question, it really should, in this case, have something about inheritance and legacy in it that relates to your theme. You can work with faculty members on developing that research question, use your advisors who have expertise. You can also they can bring in, I call them assistant coaches, people who aren't necessarily part of Phi Theta Kappa, but they can help you with doing things like developing research questions or finding out what academic sources are. We have a whole section in the Honors Program Guide about what academic sources are, pages 25 through 27. All of your sources that you use ultimately when you write your reflection piece, your Honors in Action Hallmark Award entry, need to be academic sources. I mentioned again, you can start with things that are not academic, like my New York Times article that caught my eye. those aren't ultimately going to be the things that you're looking at. But in each of the cases about population growth and demographics, there are going to be academic sources that talk about those things. And so that's what you want to do, is go from that newspaper article or that TED Talk into the academic sources and the analysis of the information that you've gotten there. So take a look there. You want to make sure they're academic. It's important that you look at that. And those are vetted sources. Those are things that have been edited. They aren't things that people personally wrote and put on the web, for example, because that really hasn't been vetted as an academic source. And you want to be careful with web pages, because web pages pretty typically have a point of view. And even when they don't, we see a lot of the World Bank, for example. And, I'm married to someone who taught economics and, loves the World Bank demographics. They're great. And it's wonderful to start there. But what we really want you to do is go find some people who have analyzed that data. What does that mean? In the article I just looked at, well, the population is declining. What does that mean in terms for academics? How, where did the decline start? And then you can look at that information and say, okay, how about our town? I live in Houston. Our city is booming. I mean, I think when I first moved here, there were 3 million people. There are now 8 million people. Many of them Californians, I should mention, because it's a relatively inexpensive city. And so Californians end up being like millionaires in Houston. So, our population is booming, and part of it is economic. It's that people can live nice lives here and still be in a big city with the amenities. So, look at those things. You can find people who are experts about that in your cities and in your towns, or cities and towns like them. And so take a look at those academic sources. And then collaborators can be research-based too. So don't overlook that. We always think of collaborators in terms of our academic, in terms of our action, but research librarians, faculty members who have expertise, authors. If you were really taken with a book or an academic source and you find the author, and that author will talk with you about the source, that's a collaborator. So, think about those things, who are really good academic collaborators who can work with you, either from the college or in the community, and that's going to make a difference for your Honors in Action project as well. And then remember to develop research conclusions. You've read everything or watched documentaries or you've talked with experts and you've got all this information. So then you go to the so what? What does it all mean? What have you learned from all of this information? And it's going to be from those research conclusions that you're going to move to your action, but it's only after you do your research conclusions that you move to action. It doesn't mean you haven't thought about it, but you want to make sure that what you do is going to have a short-term impact and potential for long-term impact in your community, however you're defining that. Something that you are doing in your community might not be important in Houston, or something that I would do as a team might not be important in one of your communities. And so you really want to think through those things. And that takes a little more brainstorming and thinking about what you're doing. I mentioned, just real quickly, I'd mentioned that you could bring people and you could interview that author, for example. Make sure if you're doing interviews for your research part that you conduct academic interviews. And that may require bringing somebody in to help you with this, because academic interviews typically last 60 minutes. You have to have questions that are vetted as academic questions. You want to make sure they're open-ended. There are criteria. You actually record them, you transcribe them, you look for codes. Faculty members can help you do that. So don't shy away from them, but make sure that you're doing them in an academic way. And that's important. All right, so beginning with academic investigation, very, 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 very important. Jeff, my husband, who was also a Phi Theta Kappa advisor at one time, and he used to always say, don't put the cart before the horse. It doesn't work that way. So get to the academic investigation, work through that part of the process, and you're going to come up with a really meaningful action as a result. And that's when you move from your research conclusions, you develop some action objectives. What is it that you're hoping to accomplish? with what you do. And you really can't do your action objectives in a meaningful way until you finish your research. So, think that through. You do your research objectives, do all of your research, come to your research conclusions, and then it's time for you to do your action objectives and what you hope to achieve. And those might be things like making sure that you have collaborators from the college and from the community, because that's one of the things in the planning and judging rubric. So with your action objectives, they may be there. You have collaborators, so you're going to have some collaboration objectives that deal with collaborating on the action piece of your project. The other thing I'll mention with collaborators, and I think I have it on another slide too, but it's something that chapters miss, is that you want to make sure you have a plan as part of your action objectives and collaboration objectives for communicating with your collaborators. I mean, they can really enrich your project. You have a very strong alumni team, for example, and alums can be collaborators with Honors in Action. So how are you going to communicate with them? How are you going to pick the people who are most advantageous to what you hope to do and what you hope to learn and the impact you hope to make? And then, are you going to communicate with them via email? What's your calendar for communicating with them? How about, are you going to do a final report and offer that to the people who collaborated with you so that they know how the project turned out? How are you going to thank them for being collaborators, and maybe celebrate you finish your project? It's great, but think about those things. Have an action plan and a collaboration communication plan, because the planning rubric does ask for that, but it's sort of way at the back. So if you don't look at the planning rubric early on, it's easy to miss that. So here are the things that people typically miss on the rubric. There's an emphasis on intentional research. You probably noticed that, since I've spent half of this presentation talking about that, but it's really important, particularly if you're going to submit an Honors in Action Hallmark Award entry, and we hope you do, because that's how we know whether we're hitting our mission, the incredible work you're doing, and we want to celebrate that and reward that. So if you look at the planning rubric, there's a whole section on academic investigation, but when you look at the action piece and you look at the impact, there are a lot of points there that are directly tied to academic investigation. So don't ignore it. Make sure you're intentional with it, that you've really worked through. Again, the theme is the lens through which you study the honor study topic. And then heightened awareness of self and community in relation to global issues. You're working very likely on global issues. That doesn't mean you're going to work globally. That kind of 1970s slogan of think globally, act locally is very Honors in Action oriented, because most chapters are going to work locally. You don't have to. You can certainly work globally as well, but we definitely want you thinking globally. The newspaper article I mentioned for example, is talking about the world population. And it's talking about places where the population is declining, and then the one continent, Africa, where the population is not declining. I guess technically Antarctica stays the same, that it hasn't boomed and it hasn't busted there. But when you're looking at that, that's global. Now, if you were working with that and you found your academic sources and you were working on something that was really dealing with population decline, you probably are acting locally. And that's cool. You're still heightening your awareness of how what you're studying is a global issue. Make sure you take notes about that as you're working through the process, so that when you come to this part of the rubric, okay, yeah, we heightened our awareness and here's how we did this. You could even have a research objective that deals with heightening your awareness about yourselves and about your community in relation to global issues. That way, it's a good reminder that you want to make sure you're going back to that. Then the rubric also talks about increased appreciation for the value of informed action as a lifelong endeavor. And there are several things there. It's an appreciation on your parts, your team's part, of intentional action. and informed action. And Honors and Action is all about that. It's intentional research, informed action. It's action based on data, on facts, you know, that you're making the choices based on your research. So it's making sure you talk about an increased appreciation for it, or you talk with yourselves about that it's informed action, you know, it's action based on research. And then it's as a lifelong endeavor. Now, at this point, you can't say, yes, this is going to be my lifelong endeavor, but you want to talk about that. You know, you are lifelong learners, or you wouldn't be here on a Saturday morning talking about Honors and Action and going through a boot camp, right? So we know that about you. We want to know about that. We want you to think about it and talk about it. So make sure you look at that with the rubric and you're thinking about that as you move through the process. I already mentioned communication with collaborators. Again, it's missed probably 90% of the time by chapters. So make sure you've got that plan and that you're communicating, and then writing down, you know, what do you hear back from them? What have you told them? Can make for a really rich Honors and Action experience. And then you want to think about, you know, your team's contributions to the honor study topic. First of all, it doesn't mean that you have to do original research. We're not asking that at all, but you're contributing to an understanding of the honor study topic by looking at your academic sources, by coming up with your research conclusions, by sharing your understanding, hopefully with chapter members, with people on campus, with people in the community, and informing your actions. So you are contributing to an understanding of, in this case, to the 7th generation inheritance and legacy, and why that matters. And you also want to think about your contributions to understanding the importance of lifelong intentional service. You notice there there are 2 bullet points that deal with that, because in the rubric it's there twice. The idea that you understand collectively the importance of lifelong intentional service. So lifelong learning is important, lifelong intentional service, you know, making a difference in your communities. Again, Phi Theta Kappas tend to be that, right? I mean, you know that, and you're here on a Saturday morning going through a boot camp and really trying to learn Honors and Action and be able to bring that back to your chapters and your colleges and communities and share that. But take some notes, write some things down. There's in the journal, and I know Patty and Ryan are going to talk about this, there's a journaling guide. So you can do this with paper and pen, being radical, or you can do this online. But you know, think about these things as you're working through Honors and Action, and think about how you might even develop your research objectives and looking at these kinds of things, because then you're going to be really prepared for your reflection piece. You know, we call it an Honors and Action hallmark award entry, but reflection's really important in Honors and Action, really thinking about what you're doing, why you're doing it, why it makes a difference. And then you're going to look at whether your project has a short-term impact and the potential for long-term impact. So you don't have to have changed the world in a few months, but making a little dent and making things better can be really important with Honors and Action. So in thinking about, how did you make a difference? Why did all of this matter? And then thinking about, well, how could it make a long-term difference? It may be that you are the people who do that. It may be that people come after you, and part of your legacy is now people know more about what you studied and what you did and how they can make a long-term difference in their communities. So I know we're going to have time for some questions and answers. Thank you, Nevada, California, your incredible regional alumni team. I really appreciate being here. I like talking about Honors and Action at any point, and I am happy to answer any questions you have. Lizal, do I need to look at chat?
Hi. Okay. Thank you, Susan. That was a terrific, informative presentation.
Thank you,
And
Barbara.
I'm Barbara Demopoulos, treasurer for the Alumni Association. And I'm going to be fielding the questions that our audience has written in the chat. So I'm going to start with the first question that I have for you. And let's see, here's my document. Here we go. From Sheila P. I read in your article how legacies trickle down from famous people, but also infamous people and people related to those people. Do you think if someone wasn't born into a family, can they still have a heritage legacy?
That's a great question, and thank you so much for reading my essay. I really appreciate that. It's very exciting when that happens. You know, of course, because we all learn things about legacy, and you know, I think we assume that legacy can be a really, it's always positive, and it can be, right? I mean, you can have this. I'm gonna give you a personal example of my family. Um, I didn't really know my father. My parents divorced when I was really young, but I still have legacy, right? I mean, I still look like him. I still have some memories of him. I do know my aunts and uncles, and I met his second wife, the person who followed my mother, and they were married for many years. And I was showing her pictures of my nieces and nephews, and she stopped at one picture and she goes, "Oh my God, that looks just like your father." And it was really interesting, right? So you can have those legacies for maybe some of the things you like and some of them you don't. And my father was a football coach. So and graduated from Notre Dame. I think I teased about Notre Dame the other day with a group of people, and I still love Notre Dame, right? I mean, my mother, who couldn't stand him, loved Notre Dame football. So, you know, I know the fight song. I've known it since I was a little girl. You know, even things like that you don't think of that are passed down to you. The stories that people tell you. You can have a legacy from your friends too, right? I mean, you learn from friends all the time. You can learn from people you're around, from colleagues. You know, I watch Patty and Ryan and the way they're able to work with and deal with and collaborate with everybody, you know, across the nation, across the world. I've watched their leadership. You know, they're working, Patty with the Middle States region and Ryan as a faculty scholar. You know, I've learned things from them, and that's part of the legacy they've left, and hopefully I will be able to pass on some of the things there. And then, you know, my family, my niece, my niece's daughter, Ellie, graduated from middle school yesterday, and Jeff and I sat on the bed and we had our link to the graduation and watched it. And it was really cool. It reminded me a little bit of a Phi Theta Kappa induction, just really well done. And you know, here we were sitting watching an iPad, watching my grandniece graduate from the 8th grade. And it was really amazing. And she looks like my mother. And then we took some pictures of the iPad. It's the 21st century, to send to them. And at moments the camera captured her and she looked just like my niece. You know, so it was really interesting. Her voice was like hers. So I think that just being around people, you're going to inherit things from them. And that's going to be part of the legacy you leave. And I may be way off on the answer, but I appreciate you asking, Sheila.
Well, Susan, I have several other really great questions. However, I see that we're at 10:45. So I'm going to ask you to be as brief as you can in your response. And then for the questions that we don't get to, I will send those to you and maybe you can respond to those and we can get those answers to our participants.
I'm happy to do that.
Okay, so here's another one from Andrew G. Will the research be completely secondary research, or is there a primary research requirement as well?
Mostly with Honors in Action, it's secondary research. And that's because we want you to use vetted academic sources. You know, so I taught history, so like a newspaper article would be a primary source for us, but we don't want you using those as the 8 academic sources. So an interview would be a primary source, but make sure that it's an academic interview. So largely secondary. How's that for brief?
Great. From Annie L. If this is the second half of the year period for this action initiative, what should newcomers do to have the most impact or progress?
You know, you can have a lot of impact even starting in late summer, even early fall. After then it gets a little bit trickier. Part of your impact, remember, is your research that you've done and the investigation you've done and the information you've gathered and how you've made a difference for the honor study topic and for you understanding what you're studying. So don't forget that that's part of impact. And then you can still do something when you're looking at the action. You know, it might be a one-day thing. It may not be the biggest project, but you can have an impact in one day. You know, you can reach people, you can have the impact at the college and community just in the way you get to know with people and they get to know Phi Theta Kappa and they get to know what you're doing. And if you're following the process, that's what counts. So a small project and finishing a small project is more important than saying, gosh, we really wanted to take on this huge project and we didn't get to. Finish something smaller, get something done before December 31st, which is the deadline.
Okay, I'm going to go with one more question because I think it's important for our recruits to have a response. This is again from Sheila P. If you start off with one HIA project, but during that journey, you find that something is pressing your team to change your HIA project because of this newfound passion with your team, can it be changed? Or do you have to stay with the one you started with?
No, it's a great question. It can be changed. And know that we have had most distinguished chapters who have changed their research, their theme, you know, what they're doing in the middle, and they write about it. That's part of the process and reflection. So talk about that. You know, what was it about what you were doing that led you to change, and why did you change? That's part of the process. That's exactly what we want to do. Honors in Action is not linear. You know, it's not that here we started here and we have to, no matter how much we don't like this anymore, finish it. Change, go ahead. It works.
Thank you, Susan, and thank you for responding to the questions that our participants had. And I will be sure to get you the full list and the ones that we did not hit upon during this presentation. Hopefully you can respond to those so we can have answers for our participants. And again, thank you so much for being with us today and being one of our honored presenters. And now I'm going to turn it over to our Master Sergeant, Christine Lowe, Alumni President.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. I appreciate you fielding the questions and answers. At this time, I would like to introduce one of our newest officers of our Alumni Association. Her name is Autumn McMahon. She is the Director at Large, and she's also a Junior Advisor for the Beta Zeta New Chapter at Kenyatta College. So welcome and thank you, Autumn.
Thank you, Christine. Good morning, everyone. I would like to take this opportunity to introduce two of our distinguished guest speakers, Patty Van Adder and Ryan Nicole Martin. I know Susan's mentioned them as well, so I'm excited that these ladies are joining us. So Patty's journey began with Phi Theta Kappa as an inductee and chapter officer to the Alpha Psi Pi chapter at Rowan College. She attended Temple University on a PTK scholarship and earned her bachelor's degree in early elementary and special education. After starting her career at Delaware Technical Community College, Patty was elected to represent 29 regional coordinators to the board of directors and was appointed vice chair in 2016. Patty is a distinguished regional coordinator, chapter outreach and development coordinator with Phi Theta Kappa headquarters, and credits her membership to PTK as a life-changing experience. Ryan has served as a co-advisor to the Alpha Omicron Chi and the PBCC chapter for 10 years, the Arizona regional coordinator for 1 year, and as a PTK faculty scholar twice. Ryan embodies PTK's values of leadership, service, and scholarship, working for Big Brothers Big Sisters of Central Arizona and the Be a Leader Foundation. At both nonprofit organizations, Ryan coordinated high school college readiness programs. Currently, Ryan is one of 2 chapter outreach and development coordinators with Phi Theta Kappa headquarters. She is excited to be in this position and to work with all wonderful PTK chapters throughout the country. Please join me in welcoming Patty and Ryan.
Good morning, Nevada, California.
Woo-hoo!
Woo-hoo. It's good to be with you this morning. I think I can't see Ryan right now, but I know I can hear her. I see Susan. I want to thank you, Susan. I'm like Christine too. I geek out when I get to hear you talk about honors in action, and love hearing the your knowledge that you share, and it's just amazing. And every time I hear it, I attend another one of your presentations, I learn a little bit more, right? Even though my years of being an advisor and an officer and a regional coordinator, there's still something more to learn about honors in action. And
Definitely.
yeah, I started out being really afraid of it, both as an advisor, to be really honest, as an advisor, and especially an advisor at a technical college, right, where we didn't have a strong, well, it just didn't exist. You know, they're all technologies that students, complete degree coursework in, and our highest English class is a 100 level, and so it was a little different, and it was just different to try and do that there. I am proud of what my chapter was able to do eventually after some work, but it's just about sticking with it and just trying. And trying is the best thing, right? I still hear from some of the students who tried, and some of the honors in action experiences they've had definitely have changed the course of their lives and what they've gotten into. So for that, I'm grateful. So thank you, Susan. Thank you. Thank you. And also working with Ryan, she was a faculty scholar. I never got to do that. And I always look up to the faculty scholars because they have such great insight. So I think the both of us, Ryan and I, call ourselves twins because we both have had advice. We both have done some advising, and we both have served as regional coordinators, and we both came on at the same time. So the hair color might be a little different, but we are definitely twins.
We actually have the same car too.
We do. We both have Jeeps.
Don't forget that.
Life is good with a Jeep. So yeah, we're really happy about that. And the other thing that, what we want to talk about is just from more or less from the viewpoint of whether you're a chapter member or an officer or an advisor or whatever your level is, your current role is with Phi Theta Kappa. There are so many resources, right? And that was one of the things that, even I, and a lot of my advisors that I've worked with in the years, they just wouldn't look at the stuff that was on the website. It's there. There's a reason why it's created. It is so helpful in keeping you just organized through this process, right? And also giving you different ideas. You don't have to take everything that's verbatim on the website. You can adjust it to your environment, your current status. And I know someone asked about the question about, this is the middle of, or we're just starting, or halfway through the year, we haven't started, are we behind? I say no, I've seen worse. I've seen some chapters start in November. I don't recommend it, especially if you have a stressful life to begin with. Now's a good time to be talking about it, right? And being really successful at it. And Ryan's and my goal this year is to get so many more chapters to that 4th and 5th level of the 5-star chapter development program. And I know in a couple of weeks we'll be talking about college projects, but honors in action is in that 5th level. And a lot of folks will just stay away from it because it's just too much, but we just want you to try. Trying is great. And trying also starts building a foundation so that you'll get better at it moving forward. And that's just my little advice to advisors, because they're always going to be here. The students come and go, but just put your foot out there and try it. So we're going to talk about resources today. I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully I can do this. Sometimes I have trouble with this, but we'll see. We'll get through it. It's boot camp, right? It's learning. That's from here. Okay. Like I said, here we go. There we go. All right. So, Ryan, you can see it, right?
I can see it.
All right, girl. We ready?
Ready?
Ready. So, resources for success. I say that Phi Theta Kappa is really good at giving us all the resources we could ever possibly need, use, find, modify, whatever you need. And besides all of the resources, we are going to reiterate, Ryan and I, many, many times, just as Susan has, we are here to support you in this. And if there's a time where you would like to set up a meeting with us and just talk to us about your process, we are here for that. And we'll talk more about that later. But the primary, besides the guide, and I'm so glad you did your homework last night because you read the essay. To me, as an advisor and as a student too, or as a member, reading that essay frames the whole process. It sets you up, right? You understand what the honor study topic is. It gives you ideas. It opens up the whole idea of working through this process, right? And makes you think of things that you never thought about. And even though we're in the second year, I read this every once in a while. Like I did some summer reading, I called the other day and reread the essay because it does set you up to understand a little bit more about what this is all about. And besides the essay and the guide, which is very important, everybody should have one. You should print it out, or if you have a copy of it, use it, read it, make, fold the pages over, highlight it. If you have a clean honors study guide, honors guide, you're not taking notes, right? You really want to mark this up as much as you can. And it's helpful, right? It should always be in your chapter's location where you meet if you have an office or whatnot, but definitely have that. And then the second next thing for me, which I wish was available so many years ago, is Research Edge. Now, I know a lot of you know that we have PTK Edge, and it includes Competitive Edge and Transfer Edge, Employment Edge, right? If you're working, want to build a portfolio and look for employment. Our newest one, Healthcare Edge for students. And honestly, I think everybody can do it because they have a section in Healthcare Edge that refers to self-care, which is for everybody, right? But when you're talking about honors in action and research and things of that, I definitely think it's most important that everybody completes Research Edge, right? And it's not just because you'll learn more about honors in action and the process, it's going to teach you how to do the proper research, right? And it's not just for honors in action, it's for research for a lifetime, right? You're going to need these. If you're going to transfer to a university or whatever you're doing, or in the workplace, you're going to have a boss that's going to say, I need you to research this. Well, how do you go about effective, proper research? And this Research Edge is built for that. It's 3 levels. You can find it on the website at Get an Edge at ptk.org. And we will share these PowerPoints with you so that you can follow along to at your own pace. But when you get there, you will find that Research Edge is self-paced, right? You go at your own pace. It's interactive curriculum, right? It's, it has lots of examples and a couple of quizzes here and there, but it's very interactive. It's not just someone just, giving you all the information. It teaches everyone the basics of academic research, okay? The course also prepares students and advisors. I encourage every advisor on the call today, if you have not taken a look at Research Edge, it's available to you as well. I encourage you to do it. It prepares everyone to start the work on an honors in action project, right? So one of the things that your chapters can do, like if you are even, whether you're virtual or back on campus or a mix of the two, have a Research Edge lock-in day, right? Take this boot camp to one more day and, everybody commit to completing Research Edge and have a discussion about each of the levels, right? What did you find most helpful about it, or what takeaways did you have from each of the levels? And you can share that information. I just think it's a good first step in getting ready to move on with the Honors in Action project. You'll be able, there's 3 levels that we talked about, and if you'll see them, investigation, action, and impact. And if you think about what Susan was saying, she started out talking about research, right? So the whole investigation level sets you up on what is proper research, what are proper sources, how to find sources that don't have a bias, the age of the research, is it relevant to what you're looking at? And so the whole first level is about investigation. And you can apply those skills not only from Honors in Action, but also in anything else you do for the rest of your life as it relates to research. Action, we talked about, after we get that research together and we do the analysis and we get ready to do the action, what are some of the things that you can do? How do you collaborate with organizations or within your campus or the community? The whole piece is on action. And then the final one, impact. Reflecting, how do you reflect? What was your impact in this project? And what were you searching for? What did you set out to do and it ended up being? What's in it for the future. And if you think back to what was Susan was saying earlier, this also sounds like the Hallmark entry, right? At the end, when we have these reflections. Reflection is important at all stages of everything that we do. Susan talked about journals, and yes, and Ryan's going to talk about them in a little bit, but I might have maybe 30 of these paper journals in my office because I'm constantly reflecting on conversations and what I've learned, so that I have something to look at, right? And it also might help me make a decision that, or rethink a decision I've already made. So impact and reflecting is all part of that. So I encourage everyone to develop your skills for conducting scholarly research, right? That's the difference that's what makes Phi Theta Kappa different. We start everything with a scholarly activity, with a scholarly focus. So visit Get an Edge at ptk.org and start taking a look at it. I was fortunate enough to complete it over the course of maybe 2 days. It wasn't long. I probably could have done it in a day, but we all love bling, right? After you complete each level, you get that badge that you see on the screen now, and you can post it on social media, on LinkedIn. And then as we move on into PTK Connect, it's all there. And folks can see that you've completed this particular course. And also you can, for those of us that love the pins, there's a PTK Research Edge pin as well. So Research Edge includes the sections of like developing research questions and objectives, how to analyze your sources, APA citations, which is really important. I think I have to go back to Susan. I can't remember what version we are in the APA. I know they just recently were updated, so you want to take a look at that. 7. Thank you, Ryan. I knew I was going to say 6.
Susan put her fingers up.
Okay. I thought I was going to say 6, and I thought, I think it's 7. Okay, great. So 7, right? And it's really important when you get ready to write your Hallmark Award entry, because we're going to need those citations and you want to follow the correct model. And not only in Honors in Action, in all of your classes that you're doing now. Section on team building, because it's really important to have a team setting to do an Honors in Action, right? And Ryan is going to talk a little bit more about that a little later. You have to figure out, maybe doing a team building exercise, find out the likes and dislikes of what folks like to do. Maybe someone wants to be the organizer. Maybe someone just wants to do all the research and the analysis. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later. A whole section on collaboration, right? Collaborating with the college, other organizations in the community. Reflection, we talked a little bit about, and writing and editing, right? That's the last part. That doesn't come till the end of the year. And as it relates to the Hallmark Awards, and you'll hear more from PTK on that as we approach those times. But, sometimes what I like to do as an advisor, when we're using that planning rubric, and we already know what the questions are going to be on the Honors in Action Hallmark entry, kind of like through the year, try to see if we can answer them, right? Let's see if we're able to answer them now as we progress through the project, making sure that, okay, it's asking me for this. Did we do those action objectives? Oh, we need a pause here, and maybe we'll go back and look at that, and then go back and forth. So that planning rubric serves as a plan for not only your project, but also the Hallmark writing. And so it's great to constantly have that with you. And as far as editing, and I'm going to give everybody a bit of advice for this when it comes to the Hallmark entry. I think one of the best pieces of advice that I received from someone was, we gave our entry to someone at the college, a faculty member at the college that knew nothing about PTK, knew nothing about Honors in Action. We handed it to them and say, hey, would you judge this rubric, right? Would you judge this entry? See what you come up with. And it was just refreshing to see, get feedback from someone that had really no idea about all of this. And we were getting a fresh set of eyes on it, right? Because you become married to it. And it's good to have someone outside. Now, when you receive this PowerPoint, you'll be able to click and it'll take you right to Research Edge. So I'm going to move on to the next slide and talk about all of the other resources that are available, right, on the website. There's a whole section on Honors in Action, and it has things, and we're going to see it in a minute. At a glance, what are the steps at a glance? If I just want to look at what my steps are, here's this one-page thing to look at. The workbook. The workbook, it was new, I believe, this past year. It's absolutely phenomenal. It's a place for chapters to start. If you're going to have a meeting and you're going to say, okay, let's get started, you could just use this workbook as a guide, right? And there's a place for you to record your answers. So maybe somebody on the team, on the Honors and Action team or the officer team is that person that's going to record and keep track of the steps. A whole section of the planning rubric, there's an academic sources guide. There's a section on how to develop a research question. Journaling, Ryan's going to talk about in a minute and the importance of that. There's even a sample HIA project that you can look at. And something that I spent some time with yesterday looking at, which I never did. I don't know why I never did it, but I find it to be somewhere, if you're not sure where to start, look at the HIA bibliography that the Faculty Council created. It has information and resources on all 7 themes, and it might even spur an idea in you. And I think it's just another one of those tools that can be used for multiple things, right? Honors and Action grants. Last year, Phi Theta Kappa was able to be awarded a grant from the Mellon Foundation. It's back, it's open. There's a link on the website that you can apply for. Chapters can earn a grant for up to $1,000 towards their Honors and Action project. And so that's really super. As an advisor of a chapter who earned that last year, it really helped us with the licensing rights to watch a movie that we wanted to play for the campus and all of that. So it's really a phenomenal opportunity. And then Civic Scholar, right? Last year's version of Civic Scholar is up on the website. Susan was saying they were doing the final edits. We'll soon see the newest version. And that's also a great resource, right? Because you can see the portions of the Hallmark entry and see and read about the steps that the chapters had taken. So let's take a look at the website real quick. So I think it's going to go. Here we go. Ryan, did it come up?
Yes.
Okay, so there's the guide, right? You could download it. You can view it from here. Definitely, if you didn't get a chance to read Susan's essay, I encourage you there. But here are all the sections that I was talking about, and especially like at a glance, it just gives you, it's in the guide, but it just gives you, how you start here and work your way up to the mountain to a complete project. And this, when you're talking about when we ask you to just try this process and try doing an Honors in Action, this is what the tool that I would suggest that you take a look at and refer back to it, right? You'll see here there's lots of opportunities, investigating and analyzing, strategizing and leading, assessing and reflecting, and you get all the way to the top, and before you know it, you're done, right? And so we're here to support you through this journey. Let me go back to here. We go up. Didn't mean to do that. Hold on a second. Also wanted to show you the planning, the workbook, right? We talked about that for a second. You can print this out. If you have someone that's really good at scanning and digitizing, you can make it a digital thing for your chapter and put it somewhere so that you can all look at it. But it walks you through all of the different, I think there's 8 steps here. And it'll help you stay focused and organized. And Ryan's going to talk a little bit more about that. So like I said, lots of information, lots of resources for you to go to just to read, film resources, the sample HIA, how to develop a question. So there's many things that you can look at. We just don't give you the guidance, say you figure it out, right? It's all here for you. And we encourage you to frequently go back to that. I think this is the point where I'm going to turn it over to Ryan. She's going to take it from here, and then we'll take questions a little bit.
All right. So we talk about resources and what that means to you and your chapter. There are so many resources out there that were designed to help you. And that's what a resource is, something that helps someone, something that helps you either get money or get ahead. And one of the greatest resource that I think as a past advisor, as a past regional coordinator, is the activity guide for chapter leaders. Whoever thought of this, It's brilliant, is a genius. And I kind of wish this was around when I was an advisor, because this guide takes you through all levels on becoming a 5-star chapter. It helps you with how to start your college project, how to start your honors in action. It also has different activities within the guide. We were talking about team building. So some of these things are building and developing your team. So if you haven't downloaded the activity guide, I suggest everybody. It's not just for your executive team, your leadership team, it's for everyone. It's for your members, it's for your advisors, it's for your officer team. And if we think about it, when we're working with our college project, who do we have to work with? Administration, your college administration. Print this off for them. Make it really pretty when you're printing it off for them, and give it to them to let them know that they are part of this process too. Without them, you really can't do your college project. When they see this in color and they have it in their hand, they're going to be really excited and ready to support you with whatever you need to do for your college project, for your honors in action, and to think about it in the long run to help make sure that Phi Theta Kappa is, the organization to be in when you're on your campus. So some of the other things that are in here, like I said, there's team building activities, there's how to. Some really cool things are treasure hunts and scavenger hunts. I think when this was designed, being in a virtual environment wasn't, all the way in there, but you can do everything that's in here virtually. We've done scavenger hunts on Zoom, and it's just the same as you would in person, which is really cool because you kind of get to, if you're doing this with your team, you kind of get to know who your team is by the things that they bring back to the camera. Some other resources, Patty was talking about journaling. I think journaling is so important. Not only does it set you up for your year, but it sets the team that comes in after you up also, because they can go back and they can see, oh, this is where they started. This is how they finished. They added some, oh, here are some things to do for next year and getting ready. So we're talking about legacies. They're leaving a legacy for you by journaling. Other resources that you can do, Patty and I were talking yesterday, and what I'm really excited about is vision boards. You think of vision boards as stuff that you cut out of magazines and you put it on this poster board, and it's kind of a 5-year affirmation on what you're going to do. You cut it out, you verbally said it, and then you put it in this reminder board. Well, vision boards can be done virtually too. So you can do that on Google Slides and all of you can interact together. There's some other apps that you can use. So Padlet. So it's kind of like using little sticky notes, and you're all still able to do it at the same time. Miro, that's a big one. It's similar to Padlet, where you have the sticky notes, you can work on different sheets together, and it's really cool to see your whole team, because the sticky notes kind of move in like this and they're moving around. It's really cool to see. If you want to create this as a kind of a classroom environment, you can also use your campus's LMS systems. Dropbox, because you can save, but when you want to work together at the same time in real time, when you're virtually, you can use your whole Google Drive. So you can work on Google Docs at the same time, Google Slides. You can work on a survey or a form together, and everything is saved into that Google Drive. Google Classroom, you can set that up. If you can't use the LMS system on your campus, you can set Google Classroom to be similar to Canvas or Blackboard or whatever you're using, which is really cool. And then it's set up similar to the journals. It's set up for the next group of leaders in your chapter. to use, and they can continue. They can add on, they can take out, they can say what worked, what didn't work. Again, team building activities. As a person that comes from student life and we did tons and tons of team building, it helps you get to know one another, not just trying to work just together, but to know, I know how Patty works and I know how her brain works. So I just add on what she might not have, and vice versa. There are still a lot of things that I'm learning, and I get a lot of information and ideas from some of the things that I know Patty has in her brain. Meeting frequently, fresh meeting notes. I don't know if anybody is familiar with continuous improvement, but some of the things that you learn within continuous improvement is to have the same agenda, but just keep on going on and on with it. So if you have an agenda set for June 12th and the next time you meet on June 21st, you have that in there so you can continue to go back and say, oh, it's already here. Instead of trying to fumble through everything or asking, what did we talk about the last time? It's on that journal or on that agenda. So that's really cool. Again, journal, wherever you are. If you see what I have right now, I have a notebook, I have this planning. Even though I know about Honors in Action, everything that Susan said, I wrote down, because no matter what, you're going to learn something new when Susan is talking. So I wrote it down. Even though I know Honors in Action, I was still writing stuff down. Collaborate. You just don't have to collaborate with your team. You have a whole campus full of master's degrees, doctorates. I'm pretty sure there's over 300 to 400 years worth of expertise and knowledge on your campus. And that's not just in the library. That's your faculty, that's your college president, that's your advisor, that's the student that's next to you that is just a total geek on how to research or how to build a car or something. You have that next to you. When I was an advisor, I told students to tap into their faculty all the time, ask questions. Faculty might say they don't want you to ask questions, but they do. They want you to ask questions and they love giving answers. Your library, besides the librarians, has so much information and knowledge. And then the librarians are super smart. They can help you with your research. They can help you come up with a question. They can help you use the library. Be inclusive. Let everyone be a part of, creating your Honors in Action. And just because you think, oh, we're not going to win, we're not going to place, who cares about that? It should be just about having fun, working with others, and making a difference. And that's what your Honors in Action does. You're coming up with something to help make a difference, whether that's, locally, nationally, or globally. You're coming up with that. And don't forget to just have fun. So going back to the team building activities, you don't have to do something that, is based off a college project or an Honors in Action. It could be going to go hit some baseballs. It could be the new thing where you're throwing the axe and seeing where it's land. It could be just going to go have ice cream. It could be going bowling, but you gotta have fun. And having fun, yes, and be humble about that. Sheila just said, be humble. You have to, I think everything that you all do with Phi Theta Kappa, it's because you want to do it. You have a choice. You have a choice to say, oh, I don't want to do that today. I don't want to be involved. Or you have a choice to say, I'm going to get up, I'm going to be involved, and I'm going to make a difference today. So don't forget to have fun. Don't forget to journal, and don't forget to use your resources and those around you. And we can go to questions now. Trying to see where they started. Okay, so I think the first one, how old is too old when we are looking for academic resources?
I'm going to stick my neck out. I think I recall the number being 5, nothing beyond 5 years old. Correct, Susan?
It's APA technically is 5 years old and nothing beyond that unless it's a seminal work. We are a little bit more lenient in honors and action. We're not lenient about everything, but we know that there's some good sources out there that are maybe 10 years old. And you don't want something that is so old that it's cringeworthy. And that happens, with books. So, be careful with that. But, if it's 6 or 7, 8 years old and it's a great source, you can use it.
How many, I just like to see a show of hands. How many of you were part of an honors in action for last year? Raise your hand. Yeah, a few, just a few. I'm going to say that the majority of you here today, this is your first try at this, correct? Yeah, awesome. Awesome. We're here for you whenever you need it. Ryan and I are available through virtual office hours that we have Tuesdays and Thursdays. If those days don't work or those times don't work, give us an email and we'll set something up for your chapter. We are here to support you. We are going to meet our goal. Ryan and I have a goal of 600 5-star chapters this year. And I'm pretty confident with all of these chapters in Nevada, California participating this morning, we're going to get over that. We're going to achieve our goal. So that's only going to work if you allow us to support you and ask us questions and reach out. We love doing chapter meetings. That's one of the things both Ryan and I think Susan too, miss a lot, is having those opportunities to meet with students and go to chapter meetings. Oh my gosh, my heart. So invite us to your chapter meetings. We would love to meet with your students and your advisors and get you through this process. And we're going to share this information with you and you'll have that. Awesome.
How much time do we have left for questions? Because it's still some questions on there, or we can answer them. You can send them to us and we can answer them, and then you can send them out to either way. But I see some other questions in there and I just want to make sure we have enough time to answer some of them.
Hi, can you hear me?
Can we get
Yes.
Hi, yes, hi, Patty and Ryan. My name is Stephanie. I want to thank you for answering the questions, and wanted to let you know we have a few more minutes for the questions. I believe that we have about 5 more minutes for questions. And
Okay.
I can read those to you, and for whatever questions that don't get answered, I can definitely ensure that they get emailed to you for you to provide them the answers and mailed out to the attendees.
Okay. Thank you, Stephanie. We're ready.
Great. And again, my name is Stephanie Mutialu, and I am a director at large, part of your alumni association for Nevada, California region. And I believe that Ryan, that you answered some of the questions here already, which are, I believe we went into how old is too old. Did you answer that question as well?
Yes. That was
Okay.
the 5 years.
That was the 5
6 to
years.
8.
And then did you answer Jamie Burton's question? Can we ask our advisors to look over our reflection papers before we finish it?
We did not answer that, but I suggest that you do. It's just your advisors know who you are. Most of them have the background to be able to go in and give you some, really good critiques on it. So I say yes, like 100% yes. And then again, collaborating with other faculty members too, to go over it. Just so, especially if you have a faculty member that's in the English department, that's, a good person. Another good one too is your tutoring center. So there's a lot of English majors in there, a lot of English tutors that can help you out in the tutor center. So use the resources on your campus that you have, the free resources on campus that you have.
My biggest savior for my chapter when we were doing hallmarks was going to the writing center.
Mm-hmm.
I like to write, but I like to free write. I'm not good was never good at that. And I always said to them, be sure, take the pressure off, go to the writing center and
Yeah.
sit down with them. And I mean, use that, I encourage that a lot.
No, I was going to add one thing there too, because I agree with Ryan and Patty there. Don't ask the nicest people you know.
Mhm.
That's the most critical. And I like to tell the story with this honors program guide that we're all using. I gave it to 2 people to edit after I had edited it. And one person sent back, hey, nothing, this is great. And the other person sent back 237 questions and suggestions. That's the person you want
Yeah,
looking at your
definitely.
entry. Because as much as it's like, oh gosh, it was a much better guide because she did that.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. And we have another question up from Luana Rollins. Her question is does PTK Edge have a cost to enroll? Is there a deadline to complete the levels, or can you complete them at your own pace?
Yeah, there's no cost. The PTK Edge is a member benefit. I mean, as soon as you accept, accept membership, you have access to all 5 PTK Edge programs, and also one of my other favorite programs, the Leadership Development Studies. Those are free to you to use. Also, as an alum, there's no cost, no deadlines. It's self-paced. Yeah, definitely. Get started on it. Just go to Get an Edge at ptk.org. You'll need your credentials to log in. And once you do that, you'll see all the modules, and then you can get started. I think in all cases, I think in all the edges, you have to do it in numerical order. If you're interested in the leadership development studies, that's a great, talk about team building, talk about leadership development. That's a great thing to do in the summer for chapter officers and members, right? It's totally online. It's available to all members and advisors, of course, but everybody has to do the first unit, and then it unlocks the rest of it. And then you can go through, but you get to develop your own leadership philosophy by learning about others. And it's very engaging. It's one of my favorite programs that we have. So use those as tools as well.
Thank you. Thank you. And I think we have time for one more question. And I think that question is coming from, let's see, Annie Lanacrane. And it says, and second to that, any recommendations on how to make a good project with a very small group of members?
A good project with a very small group. Well, I understand. I have heard my colleagues at Phi Theta Kappa talk about you only need 2 to do an honors in action, right? You just need 2. And as a matter of fact, if you're going to do an honors case challenge, right, it could be one person, the member doing it, or the chapter. And sometimes that's a good springboard into honors in action. That's a whole other topic for another day. But you only need 2. And as long as you're committed to it and there's that back and forth between the 2, it's doable. Susan, have you had experience with a chapter that's had 2?
Sorry, yes, and that's absolutely right. One of the things we've found is that honors in action has been a great equalizer. It used to be if you were going to win awards, and especially if you were going to be most distinguished chapter, you had to have a big chapter that could function on all cylinders all the time. Honors in action, we've had just as many really small chapters as we've had big chapters win awards and most distinguished chapter. The process makes the difference. And if it's 2 people and you can get through the process, it can happen. And we've had at least one chapter off the top of my head that comes from a college in a town of 1,000 people that has won most distinguished chapter twice. Don't let 2 people make you think you can't do it.
If I may jump in, I'm the chapter advisor for the honors in action that won this year, and we are also a very small chapter, and we pulled it off with just, I think, 3 people at first and 2 people for the rest of it. So it's definitely doable.
It's definitely doable. I like that you say that, because the other part of it too, I mean, you are doing an honors in action to complete the 5-star program or whatever it is, but you also have to take to remember, as advisors, the members might not realize this, but it's what the students are getting out of it. You know, it might not be it might not be something that you see today, but in a couple of years, they'll say, you know, if I hadn't have done that honors in action, even though there was only 2 of us, I never would have been able. And that's the big prize. That's the reason for it, right? That's all of why, you know, we do this and encourage it. The 1 year that my chapter was a distinguished chapter, we had 6 active members, 6 officers, and those 6 officers did the honors in action. And I was good with it because I knew those 6 had it, and then it got better every year. So yeah, small or little, big or small, it all works.
Thank you. Thank you. And actually, we have one more, we have time for one more question.
Okay.
The question is opposite, actually. It says, how can we best manage and include, this is from Anna Nam, and the question is, how can we best manage and include a large group of members, 20 plus, working on the HIA project?
In my career as a regional coordinator, we have a few chapters that I'm familiar with in the Middle States that have had, I'm thinking of Union County College, their officer teams, 25 officers, right? And they are all involved in the honors in action. They each have a responsibility to it. And when I think about them, and I think about how does that advisor get all 25 to commit to the same chapter meeting, right? And anybody else that wants to be involved. And then attach that to what we went through last year, right? Amazing things happened last year. And I think one of the greatest things is I think because we were doing a lot of things more virtually, we're being more inclusive of those that can't come to meetings because they work or they had a class or whatever the case is. And so when you have a large group, and I'm thinking as we move forward, whether it's going to be more of a hybrid situation this year or everybody's going to be on campus, I think definitely using the online tools to collaborate with so that they can keep up if they can't make a meeting, and also having that virtual meeting, right? I think this is just going to be a part of it so that we're more inclusive of everybody that wants to participate. And kudos to you if you have more than 20. I love it. And everybody can have a job, you know, have a piece of that, and, you know, however you want to make that work. But one of the things you would definitely want to do is make sure you have status meetings on a regular basis. Ryan and I were talking about this the other day, and I suffered from this. I definitely, you know, we would meet in June after summer planning with the region, and we would sit down and we would talk about the book, and we would talk about different things. And then the next meeting probably didn't happen until almost August. We had to start all over again, right? So as long as you are being, you know, meeting frequently, even if it's through text or however you choose to communicate, that you keep it going and fresh. I think whether you have 2 members or 20, you'll be able to engage everyone.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Anna.
Thank you so much again, Patty and Ryan, for the great information on Research Edge and providing some great resources for us today. And for answering all those great questions. For any questions that didn't get answered, we'll go ahead and get them emailed to you so that they can get distributed out to those who wanted to know the answers.
Awesome.
And thank you. And again, I'd like to thank you, Patty and Ryan, for the great information. Now I'd like to turn it back over to our Nevada, California Alumni Association President, Christine Lowe, who has a great, fun, and exciting workshop planned for us today. Christine?
Great. Thank you, Stephanie. Wonderful job. And thank you, Barbara, for fielding the questions for Susan's presentation. As you can see, this event is, there's a number of people who help coordinate this event. And I'm really grateful that we all work really well together to make this event possible. We do have a little bit of time, and so one of the things that I did want to comment is that several years ago I was a beginning Phi Theta Kappa member myself, a little nervous, wondering what's honors in action. Just the thought, oh my goodness, this is such an onerous project. But the workshop is really going to help you through those next steps. But one of the things that I wanted to comment on was that one of the first honors in action projects that I worked on was several years ago the honors topic at that time was the democratization of information. And I thought it was an interesting topic. And what's really great about these honors topics that Phi Theta Kappa selects is that before you know it, everything that we were discussing years back is actually fully present and really carving out our destinies in the future. And so being a part of Phi Theta Kappa, it gives you an opportunity to not only be a cut above the rest in your academic groups at school or at a four-year university, you also get to learn how to think outside the box and think ahead. And so it's a real advantage to be a part of Phi Theta Kappa because you get to learn things probably years in advance. So thank you, Susan and Patty and Ryan and everyone at headquarters who really make that hard effort to think outside the box, because before you know it, everything that we thought might not happen for years from now, it's going to come at you sooner than you expect. And so the fact that we're thinking about inheritance and legacies, especially during a seismic shift in the times with the pandemic and the world and social events, this is definitely a good time for you to really assess where you are in this world and what kind of legacy that you want to set for yourself. So I commend the honors topic choices because it really makes you think ahead of the game. So what I will do next is I am going to share with you the next task here. Let's see if I can find this. Okay, I had it before and then, let me see. Okay, it's one of those moments where I'm looking at words and I'm not, oh, here it is. There's your survival guide. All right. So in the chat section, you will be receiving a survival guide and it's wanting me to click to keep retrying. Let's try it again. Okay. Okay, I'm going to figure out a way to get this all to you. All right. While I'm working on that, I will go ahead and share the next slide on the presentation. Okay. All right. So while I'm getting the exercise out to you, I want to introduce you to the Gung Ho HIA workshop. And really, a Gung Ho, it's really exciting and enthusiastic that you get to be a part of this exercise today. You are getting a lot of information about honors in action and the various resources that are available to help you in your honors in action as well as your leadership experience. And so you'll have 60 minutes to work on this interactive workshop. Now, there are a few things that I will like to bring to your attention is that the breakout rooms will be created for your chapter. And so whatever chapter you're part of, you'll be able to work together in your own breakout room. So for those who in your chapter who never met each other, this will be the first time that you get to meet each other and work together. And for those who are the only ones in your only representative in your chapter, there will also be a breakout room for you. And so you're not alone. And actually, I think that's also going to be a very enriching experience because you get to network with members from different parts of the region. So I think that's an exciting opportunity for you as well. While I'm working on getting the handout to you, it looks like this. It's a PDF, or sorry, it's a Word doc paper, and it's specifically a Word doc so that it gives you an opportunity to make this survival guide, which is a checklist, make it your own. And so I'll be working on getting that out to you. And actually, if I maybe get a couple of the alumni to help out who's got a backup copy, just keep me posted. But take the time to get a paper and pen handy so that you can work together on the workshop, and then follow the checklist on the Bootcamp Survival Guide. I know that we have our technician here, Miriam Moody, our regional coordinator. I just wanted to see if there was anything that we should also bring up to the recruits' attention as they enter their breakout rooms. Miriam?
I posted the survival guide for you, so don't worry.
Oh, you're lovely. Thank you.
Nope, I have 2 multi-chapter rooms. That way, everybody will have the opportunity to speak, right? But otherwise, nope, there's nothing in particular you need to know, other than that will give you a 2-minute warning when it's time to wrap up. And if for some reason you're in a room with people who are all seem to be from one chapter and you're like, I'm not from that chapter, then, you know, shoot me a message or something, because I try to go based off of how you put your names on your Zoom screen. And so if you decided to do like an abbreviation of your name, I may not have gotten you in the right room. So anyway, FYI, that's it.
Great. Thank you so much, Miriam. And yes, so we'll go ahead and move into our breakout rooms. This will be a 60-minute workshop. I do have a break at 1 p.m. and then we will resume our presentation, our event at 13:10 or 1:10 p.m. So have a great time. If there's any questions, just feel free to contact us at the chat. And I think this is going to be a worthwhile experience. It gives you an opportunity to network, not only within your chapter, but for those who are in the separate breakout rooms with others in different chapters. And we've got, what was it, 54, I think, who have registered, chapters who registered for this event. So you'll be able to get to network and develop friendships straight away. So I wish you all the best in the success of your Honors in Action journeys. Take care.
So you should all received a message to go ahead and join another room. Please click the word join and you'll be in that breakout room. Hopefully you have not stepped away from your computers.
Hey, Christine and Miriam, I think I saw on the agenda that you were hoping that we might, be able to at least answer questions if people had them. Do you want us to just stay out of the rooms, or do you want us to, I don't want to intrude on anybody, but I'm also happy to help if someone needs it.
You're muted, Christine.
I just saw that. I'm so eager to answer the questions. So Patty, Brian, Susan, you're welcome to enter any of the breakout rooms. I know that your guidance will be immensely valuable, and just feel free to join any breakout room during this time frame.
Thanks, Christine.
Sure. And actually, anyone in the Alumni Association who want to also participate in that and just sit in the breakout room for observation or even answering a question or two, by all means, feel free to do so.
I think I'm gonna, Susan, I don't know what you think. I think I'm gonna pick one of the multi-chapter room numbers because there are multi-chapters and.
Yeah, well, I wasn't sure. I was gonna say, whatever you guys would like to do, because I know you work with everybody.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably bounce out of multi-room chapter room 1, and then there's
Okay.
2, because there's multiple chapters there, and just see, how it's going in there.
That sounds great.
I'll start with 1 if you want to do 2. I don't know. I think Ryan, what do you think? You're muted.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't think I have the ability to jump in and out at the moment.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I am
You
going.
should, Ryan, because you're a co-host, so you should have that availability. Oh, wait, hold on. I didn't make you, hold on, now you do. I just made you co-host. Sorry, I guess I goofed on that.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. Well, I may drop into Santa Ana just for a couple of minutes to say hi and just move through and
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Sounds
Fine.
good.
Thanks.
We have got some people, 6, 7 people who are not in a room, so I'm wondering if they've stepped away from their computers. Wait. Yeah, so I don't know if these 7 have stepped away from their computers or not. And I can't just put them in a room, they have to join the room.
Where do you see how to join a room?
Hold on. You can go at the bottom at breakout rooms.
Oh, yeah, okay, I see.
I don't see that.
I think you're listed as unassigned, Faustina.
I put myself in the Berkeley one.
Is there a particular room you want to start off on, Faustina?
No, are we gonna be discussing something, or are we supposed to be like helping in the other room?
You can go in and at this point, feel free to gauge. You can mainly it's just to pop in, observe. If there's, since we're all alumni, I have the experience with these projects, or just even getting the group dynamic started. Just feel free to gauge, and if they have any questions for you, feel free to answer. Or but my understanding is that headquarters will be popping in each room. So whatever is within your comfort level, you can go ahead and just say hello, introduce yourself. If there's any questions, if headquarters isn't around, and then you can just move to other rooms if you wish.
Okay, but I still don't see where you get the room, enter the rooms.
In the bottom margin, where they have your mute and stop video,
Yeah.
on the right side, there's a section that reads breakout rooms.
Nope, I don't see it.
You don't see it?
I see share screen, participants, security, recording, reactions, stop video, mute. That's all I see.
Can I have somebody go to the College of the Canyons, please? There's somebody who needs help in there, and there is somebody else. There was another somebody who asked me for help, and I forgot who it was.
Faustina, do you mind if I I can assign you to the College of the Canyons chapter? Is that all right?
Okay.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Here you go. Have fun. Thank you.
Cassandra, I'm working on where you're supposed to go. Hang in there.
Okay, thank you.
You're
Jill,
good
I
too.
also see you listed as unassigned. Is there a chapter you'd like to visit?
Somebody had a question. Go
Um,
ahead,
my-
Lisa.
I'm a little disoriented. This is all new to me. So I got put in a group that's in San Diego, and I'm in Northern California. I was just wondering if there's anybody else kind of in my region. Alpha
Okay, so
Omega,
which college are you from, Lisa?
Mendocino.
Okay, so Mendocino, you're the only person from there. That's why you're in that room.
Right,
Because
okay.
because there's a bunch of colleges from across the state where there's only one person from that college. So you're in a multi-chapter room. So if you go ahead and join that room again, because the point is to actually get started on getting a feel for the project and how it's supposed to work. So you can take that back to your chapter.
I see, okay.
Yeah.
Am I able to get myself back over there?
I'll see about doing that. Christine, there's somebody in the San Jose room who needs some help. Would you mind?
No, not at all. So San Jose,
Yep. So Lisa, let me see what I can do. You're in the multi-chapter room, right, Lisa?
What it sounds like, yeah.
San Jose, I'm not seeing it. Oh, here it is. Okay, I see it now. Okay, I'll join.
Thank you. Okay, Lisa, let me see where'd you go? Let me see what I can do here. Oh, she got herself going. Robert, are you there? Monica, Mehul, Catherine, Nick, are you all there?
As you saw in the video. Okay, so recording's in progress. Good, welcome back, everyone. As you saw, the video of our alumni team made it a point to introduce everyone on a first name basis. Even though we have advisors, and even though I'm the alumni president, we all work as equals. And I think that what you'll find as you work on your Honors in Action project is that you will also work as equals, and we are all here to help each other. I've included it earlier, but I will include it again, my email address, in case you have any questions regarding this event, some feedback, or any questions regarding the Alumni Association. We are all here to help, and it's a real pleasure to have you with us this afternoon. I will go ahead and begin the second part of our presentation. The first part was just to see if there was any questions or feedback regarding the workshop. One of the things that I've been hearing, and just because we never know on a case-by-case basis, one of the most interesting thing and actually very exciting things is that there are a number of chapters who are re-engaged. And so to have you here in the multi-chapter room part of the workshop was really exciting. And I know that for each chapter, it ranged from either just getting started to, okay, we're picking up where we left off. But I figured I would leave about another 5 minutes or so to see if there was any questions that you may have for Patty, Ryan, or Susan. Yeah, I hope that you had at least a good experience with the workshop. But if there's any questions that you have, this is a good opportunity to ask. Either go ahead and include it in the chat. But I think I just saw, just really quickly, and I'll just do this very rarely to go from the chat area. I think Professor Rosenberg had a hand raised.
Yes, I was trying to share the Research Edge with my students because I think it's a wonderful program and I would like more people to get involved. I couldn't capture the entire table of contents because it's locked when I go in. Is there a place where we can see that table of contents so we can tell our students what's in that Research Edge course?
Hi, Professor Rosenberg. There is. I can, while we're doing this, I can get the table of contents and the learning outcomes. And you can access those. They're available.
And by the way, I want to say that Susan does an amazing leadership development credentialing course. It was phenomenal. And I hope we can get back to doing those in person soon.
Great. Is there another question? Okay. Just really quickly from Susan and Patty and Ryan, what were some outcomes from your interaction with our chapters?
What were some of the
Yeah, how was your experience with meeting our chapters?
fantastic. I met with 2 chapters that are reactivating and they're excited to get started. And we're going to set up a time to meet next week with their advisors. And one of the key things that I got out of it is, I have to say, the 5th question in the homework assignment should really be used as a best practice, right? Because if you're going to just start your meeting about having honors and action, just getting to know each other, and you hear what legacy you want to leave through your experience of Phi Theta Kappa, that's one way to, learn about each other and, hear about each other's passions. And that's a good starting point. I love that question when I was in the multi-chapter room. But the 2 chapters that I met that are just reactivating, they are super excited, and I look forward to meeting with them in the future. And if there's anybody else out there that we didn't get to meet that are new or reactivating, just put your email or reach out to me through the chat, and I'll write it down, and I'll make sure that we connect with you at a later date for sure.
Great, fantastic. Yeah, that was the same experience I had too. Just a quick shout out to San Jose City College. That was the room that I attended, and the same situation. It's a re-engaged chapter, and when you plan these events, you just don't know what's going to transpire. And so it was really exciting to see the turnout for this event and to re-engage. And the fact that I live in the San Francisco Bay Area, it's also going to be really nice to meet them in person as well. And so it was an overall very, very good experience. And I hope all of you will remain in touch. And I'll tell you the upcoming events in a future slide. We are at 1:20 exactly. So I would like to take this opportunity to introduce one of my amazing alumni teammates. I've admired her for many years. Her name is Faustina Washburn. She has been a longtime alumni officer, and she has come back to serve again, and she is our director at large. So Faustina, welcome.
Thank you. And I just want to say again, you don't have to be a big college to do great things. Feather River Community College has just over 2,000 students. Feather River Community College is in a very little old town called Quincy, and they aced by winning first place for the Nevada, California Region Honors and Action Theme Award. And they placed first for the In Action Project Award. And at the International Catalyst Convention, they won the Distinguished Honors in Action Award, only 3 winners out of hundreds. And they also won the Distinguished Honors in Action Project Award for Expressions of Truth Behind Bars, Reciprocity, Legacy, and Education. And that's set for publication by the International PTK. It is my pleasure to introduce the awesome award-winning Alpha Xi Beta chapter and their advisor, Anna Thompson. And here she is and tell you all about it.
Miriam, do you want me to share the screen? Are you gonna share the screen for our presentation?
You're good to go.
Okay, all right. Here we are. Okay, and we're in the wrong place. Okay, let me start this over. Here we go. Okay. All right, everybody. My name is Anna Thompson. I'm the advisor for the Alpha Psi Zeta chapter at Feather River College. And it is true, we are a small college. We're very remote in the mountains in California. And our PTK chapter is small too. So I know that came up as a question earlier, and don't let a small anything hold you back. This is only like, I think, the third time that we've done an honors project. I think the previous advisor did one with her group a few years ago, and then we tried to do one last year, the year before last, and didn't do very well. And but you get, once you submit a project, you get feedback. So you get pretty detailed feedback on how they score you and where you lost points and stuff. And so that was really helpful, and we really paid attention to that, and paid attention to the guidelines a lot more closely to get those things right. So just really briefly, I'll just you have a tiny little bit background. Our project involved going into a prison, and we did a table, an educational roundtable, which included James Elliott, who was the student president for PTK that year. And we'll talk about it a little bit more in the presentation, but we're also one of the chapters who has incarcerated members. And so it's kind of a weird bird sometimes, because here we are, we're kind of remote and a small group in the middle of nowhere in California. And then we also have these members that are literally in like 20 different prisons all over the state with our incarcerated student program. Okay, so I want to start by briefly introducing my officer team and a member. So I have Angelina Wilson, who is the outgoing Alpha Psi Zeta president. Angelina, she's gonna jump on here in a minute. I also have Bryn Shirley here, who was the president the year before, and who participated in this project when we actually did it. And we also have Michael Bird here, who is a member, and who when we did this project was actually still incarcerated, and now he's out and still participating with our chapter, which has been really awesome. So you're gonna hear from all three of them in this presentation. Okay. So we kind of focused this presentation on what did we do to make our project successful. And I think you will hear that it echoes a lot of the things that Susan, Patty, and Ryan walked you through in the first couple hours of this bootcamp today. So you get some examples here on how some of these suggestions that they put out worked for us. Okay, so I think it's Bryn, right, who is going to start now?
I'll start on this one. When we first started our Honors in Action project, we were looking at the themes, and when we settled on expressions of truth, we felt like it applied to the work we'd been doing with the incarcerated student program. And when we were first starting our project, I think the first thing in our mind was finding a need, finding some service we could provide to the campus community. And as a school that is very involved with the incarcerated student program and involved with the incarcerated PTK members, we were always trying to find a way to make them feel included and get them the benefit of their PTK membership. So that's how we kind of settled on this project, and the theme Expressions of Truth settled nicely onto this. And one of the reasons I think we were able to take the action we did of the roundtable was because we had several groups on campus who were involved in work with incarcerated students and journalists. And now I'm going to let, can we go back to the slide before?
Yeah, sorry.
Now I'm going to let our former president, Bryn Shirley, talk about what it was like for her as president, coordinating that collaboration, because the two groups, the Social Justice Prison Journalism Club, which was the second group on campus that was involved with the incarcerated student program, they worked with a prison newspaper at the Mule Creek Post and were actually traveling into the prison. And both Bryn and I were officers with PTK and the Social Justice Club. And so from our work in both areas, we were able to help facilitate this collaboration that otherwise may not have happened. So Bryn's going to talk a little bit about putting that on as PTK president.
Bryn?
She's muted.
Okay, Bryn, can you unmute?
Yeah, I got it now.
Okay, all right, cool.
So as Angelina said, we had both been officers in the Social Justice Club and the Mule Creek Post. And as both of us together, we had realized there was an interest in working with prisons with the PTK ISP program and the Mule Creek Post working with the Social Justice Club to write and produce articles for their newspaper. And this collaboration created a new community for action, which helped with our Honors in Action program, because our previous one was also on the ISP program, but the collaboration between us brought the action out that we needed to create a project to work on. And this became our backdrop for the program, because between both of us, we became the correspondent between both clubs to get together and create a trip to go into the prison. And we had emailed James Elliott at the time and Miriam Moody to see if they would like to also participate and go to the prison with us. And from there, we had more people join. And we had Miriam Moody, who had brought one of her officers. Her name was Sabrina. And we also had the Feather River College president, Kevin Tretna, join us as well. And all of us, along with the Mule Creek Post, were able to create an action of a roundtable within the prison and express the truths behind them and what they had been writing about. Can we switch to the next slide? Right here where it says to grow from an area of existing interest was what we were working on. The PTK had been working with their officers and their members within the prison, and Anna had been teaching within the prisons as well, along with our faculty advisor at the Social Justice Club. She had been working with the prisons as well, and she had been teaching inside. And to get these two faculty members together as both teachers and advisors for a group created a sense of community that was outside of academics and school and created a community of interest. It gave us something to work forward to and to grow from our interests and create something bigger than what we had hoped for. Okay, Angelina, I think. Oh, this is Michael, I think.
Michael, it's your turn. You have to unmute yourself.
All right, there we go. Hi, everyone. Yeah, when we started this paper, well, when I first became involved with Feather River, I just transferred from a community college from inside prison that wasn't very interactive with the students like Feather River was. And so they really encouraged me to go deeper and go harder and rise above things. And because of that, I was offered a membership to PTK, which coming from a a culture of where you're not supposed to be individualized or identify with anything. You're nobody. It was a little overwhelming for me. But I was encouraged by people like Anna, Dr. Joan Parkins, to embrace this and to expand my mind, and I did. So when we started with organizing the roundtable, I had just started on writing for the Mill Creek Post on a recovery section, and I was a trained drug and alcohol counselor, which is what I was doing while I was incarcerated. And putting that together was something I had never done before. And when everything got shut down shortly after that with COVID, I continued my classes. And when I was released, Anna got a hold of me and Angelina, and wanted me to be part of this project. That right there, it's like coming full circle for me. It's part of that giving back process, and being able to share the experience of living inside and then transitioning into this life out here has meant, how do I say, it's greater than me. So I have been encouraged by everybody on this project, including staff at Feather River, to continue doing what I'm doing. And it's been an honor for me to be part of this, really, it has. I know that they have asked me again to be involved with the prison and the Mill Creek Post for future events. So being part of this paper and this project has been quite an experience for me. So thank you, Anna, Angelina, Bryn, thank you very much.
So this next slide about utilizing resources and building connections, I think is really related to everything Michael just said. And it's about through a project like this, PTK's Honors in Action, you do build connections and relationships with people doing the same work that then can continue beyond this. And now we're staying in touch with Michael, and even after this project, it continues on. And within that, utilizing the resources at the school, our advisor Anna mentioned we had a not super successful, I guess, project the year before. And I think part of the reason for that was we were very isolated and we didn't fully utilize all the resources in our campus community and all of the people, faculty, clubs who might be participating in the same thing. So something we learned through this project was that working with people even outside of PTK, especially if you're a small chapter, is really beneficial in, conducting great research or putting on action like this. And, building those connections and getting key figures involved. Bryn mentioned we got the president of our school, we got the then international PTK president, James Elliott, involved. And those were all figures who could help mobilize us and help put this project that we'd researched into action. And it was and then through the Social Justice Club, we were really lucky to have that connection because they had access to Stella, the prison official technician at the prison, and she was able to facilitate with the warden to get us in and travel into the prison, which would have been a lot harder if the Social Justice Club hadn't already been doing that for the newspaper. So through this project, we really learned the invaluable nature to building those connections outside of PTK and all of that collaboration in both research and action. And one of those key figures or resources for students doing this project is their chapter advisor. That was another thing, in our previous project, we took a stance where our chapter advisor was supposed to guide us, but from a distance. And we learned the second time through that it's really great for them to be super involved and hands-on because they know exactly, what judges want for the project, or they know what it should look like and how you should structure it. So getting Anna involved really closely in this this honors project was really invaluable, and that transition into she's going to share what your chapter advisor can do for you.
Okay, so how can your advisor help? So one of the things that I do is that I try to keep PPK on the mind of my administrators. So I present to the board every year. When we have any kind of accomplishments or we need some help, I use the all employee email to keep people in the loop. And so that really helped, because in the end, we needed some money for this project. And this project came together really quick. And like once the prison gave us a date, like we had like, I think 3 weeks to organize. We have a great relationship with our president, and he was like on board with it and gave us the money. I also recommend that you work with your regional coordinator. Miriam has been great with everything related that I've had to do with the incarcerated student program. And there are sometimes like all of these stupid little things that seem so difficult, and then you run them by her and she's like, oh, that's easy. I can just waive that, or I'll just talk to so-and-so at the headquarters, and then it gets done. And I also want to say that I went to one of the Honors Institutes, and somehow or other I walked away with a distinct impression that the advisor should be pretty hands-off with the Honors in Action project. But I was more hands-on with this one because the students needed it. Like it needed to be this go-between the prison, like somebody more official between the students and the prison. And so I kind of got roped into it, and that was a lot better. And I was really glad to hear in the presentation this morning that this is actually something we're supposed to do, you know, that we can be a really good resource for our chapters to help with those kinds of more practical hurdles that are important. Okay. Angelina, are you taking this one?
Yeah, so this kind of ties into, I guess, the connections, and we were able to reach out to the international president, James Elliott, pictured here, because Anna was so involved with the regional coordinator and everything. But it also was kind of a, I don't know, a chance, taking a chance. We didn't know if he would say yes, but we felt like we had a good project with research to back it up. And I think that really highlights what was mentioned earlier in the presentations today, how if you want to get, you know, some big people involved, you need to sell it to them. You need to show them why this is important for them to be a part of. And we were lucky, we had kind of been doing research on a similar project last year. So we had a lot of sources and research down before, I guess, actually officially starting this one. And we were able to present that to get James Elliott and then our school president involved as well. And this kind of the go with the flow bullet is kind of unique to our project, because as Anna said, once we had the prison involved and James Elliott was coming, we kind of had a very short time frame to get this all set up and get into the prison and put on this event. And so we didn't quite have the time to organize all of our sources and solidify our final 8 and write the annotations. So we used some of the research we'd done from the year before, put on this event, and then solidified it afterwards. And that's not the traditional way you're supposed to approach a project like this, but I think it demonstrates how when you have a cause that you're really passionate about and you get the opportunity to do something with it, sometimes you need to take that chance and just go for it, because otherwise you miss the opportunity. And I think our action is a great example of that, because if we had waited even a month, COVID would have shut down everything and we wouldn't have been able to. So we really got it. We just got it in. And then afterwards we solidified it and solidified our research and wrapped everything up and rounded it. But yeah, I think it's when you have a subject that you're really passionate about like this, sometimes it doesn't follow the format exactly, and that's okay. So long as you do, know the requirements, work with your advisor, make sure you know everything that you will be required to provide and get that in order. So it's kind of a mix of both. You need to go with the flow and understand life happens, and also know exactly what's required of you and exactly what you need to present. So now we're on to, I guess, finding sources. And this is probably the most important part of an honors project, is that research and getting your footing in your topic. And something I learned, I think all of us at community college probably have to take English 101. And that's where you learn the official, how to research, and you go on the school website and you look articles up. And that's kind of how I was taught to do research when I first went to community college. And something that I learned through this project is another side to research is having discussions with faculty who are, publishing or have done research in that field for their whole career. And we were really lucky to have Dr. Joan Parkin, who was both an English major at the school and had studied incarceration and been one of the founding members of the ISP program, or the incarcerated student program at our school. And so we met with her and had discussions about, when we did the first stages of research, watching TED Talks, watching news sources, stuff that's a little more palatable for someone inexperienced, and then going to faculty or an advisor or someone experienced and sharing your ideas with them and what you're thinking about the subject. They can direct you directly to authors or sources or academic articles that are dealing with the information that you've shown to them that you're interested in. So it really sped up the process of research and made it a lot more engaging and easier, because, in your first years of college, it can be difficult to sift through some of the academic sources that you find online. And that really showed me that collaboration and discussion is a huge part of research. It's not just, you alone with the database. It's having discussions and interactions with other people, and, doing something with the ideas that you research and that you find out about. And finally, the last bullet here is paying attention to the Honors in Action guidelines. I think that's a critical element to any project that we will work on as scholars. I think it's probably the easiest thing to make a mistake on. If you get passionate about something and then you forget the guidelines, you forget the requirements. And then even if it's like a great project, you can't get scored highly because you didn't meet all of the requirements that were necessary. So always bearing that in mind and always returning to them is key to success. And that's what we did for this project. And I will say that while paying attention to the guidelines and being aware that you are being graded, I think what can make a project really fulfilling, like they said earlier, is being passionate about it. And what I find most successful about our project here is that we were really proud of the work we did and happy with what we presented and published. And the award didn't matter as much, even though we did keep mind of how they would be scoring us. And I think that's an important element for or it's like a giveaway for a good project. If you feel that way, you're most likely on the right track.
Yeah, I just want to say too, we did include one non-academic source, which was written by the warden. His picture is right here. So he's like the boss of that prison. And it was just a really good article, and it really fit into what we're trying to say in our research. And, we had this big discussion on whether we should include it or not because it was not academic. And then we were just like, we wanted our project to be authentic, and we wanted it to be like right, like in a way that felt good to us. So we left it in, and we did lose some points there. But I think all of us felt that was just important for the integrity of our project and what we wanted to say. So And those discussions were really good. You know, like you learn a lot from doing them and thinking about the ins and outs of that. But it helps you to make that project your own rather than, you know, going to everything that PTK wants, for example, or something like that. Who's gonna do this one?
I'll touch on this one. So I guess speaking back to making sure it's something you're passionate about, that's a great way to approach it. And I think one of the most important things about an Honors in Action, which I think I heard in the presentations earlier today, was it's about not only addressing a need that your community or society has, it's also about a transformation, addressing that need, but also in the students who are participating in it. And through this project, I really learned that participating in an Honors in Action is joining a conversation. We were engaging and participating in groups and publications on incarceration and education. And through this article, we were able to publish our own. So it was really inspiring to be able to participate in something like this outside of the classroom, because it can feel a little detached. If you're writing a research paper just for a class, it feels detached, but participating in the Honors in Action really helped me, and I think my fellow students participating in it, just transform and recognize that academic engagement, that it's not just for an assignment, it's not just for school, we're joining a community and we're building on each other and adding on to the scholarly sources that we researched. And that was a really impactful takeaway from this project on the students, the PTK students who participate in it. And then that ties really closely into the last slide, which is about legacy. I think we were really lucky this year to have legacy as the overarching theme, because I think that's what an Honors in Action or a publication does. It's leaving something behind, leaving a body of work that can be continued. And to have that as our focus was, I think, true to the essence of what Honors in Action does. Both, you know, it leaves a legacy in the sense that we left this project behind for future PTK members at FRC to pick up on if they so choose. But it also leaves us a legacy, and now us students who participated in this are better equipped to continue doing research and engaging in an academic community after this. So the legacy is both in the project and the students that go on to do work after participating in this.
Okay, so this is our presentation. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much, Anna and Feather River College. Great presentation. Small but mighty chapters can prevail. My name is Jill Shrigan. I'm the secretary of the alumni board. I'll relay some questions from the chat. We just had a few, but if anybody has any in the meantime, go ahead and post them up. The first question that I have is from Stephanie. She said, what areas did you discover that your chapter needed funding for in regards to HIA?
Okay, so we needed funding to fly James out. And then Mule Creek is about a 4-hour drive away from FRC. So we needed money to rent the vans. We have vans, the college has vans, but you have to rent them. And then hotel room. And then Miriam mostly paid for herself, but there were a couple things that we paid for as well. So it was basically just the logistics of getting everybody to Mule Creek that we needed money for. So.
Okay.
And again, you know, we literally it just all came together so fast. And so in the past, I've fundraised for things that we wanted to do, but we would have never been able to pull that off because, you know, like James said, yes, I'm coming, and I literally had to buy the ticket like 3 days later. So it was good to have my president just say yes and give me a budget code and go for it. So.
Great. And that leads to the next question from Sheila. How did you raise the money needed to fund this big HIA project?
We literally didn't. Our president has discretionary money, and also our president does give our chapter a budget. So we took some of the money from that, and then we needed some more, and he got that out of his discretionary budget. When we have fundraised before, we have a foundation that puts on some big events in our community, and we usually have a table there where we just ask for donations and stuff like that. So that's kind of one way that we usually fundraise. Sometimes I also just send out an email appeal to the college. But that's usually more for sponsoring incarcerated members or incarcerated students that are eligible for PTK but don't have the means to pay for the PTK membership. So I'll sometimes try to find them a sponsor if I don't have any money left. So.
Okay, great. Thank you guys so much. That's all the questions that we have posted.
You. Fantastic. What an amazing presentation. Thank you so much, Michael Bird, for being here with us. It's a true honor and to hear your inspiring story. We're so glad, and congratulations to Feather River College on this amazing project. So I will go on to and actually before then, thank you, Jill, for covering the questions and answers, and for those amazing questions throughout the day today. I would like to introduce you to our Director of Technology, Jeffrey Alejo. We have a very special event, and actually there's a little surprise in it for you. In the event publication, we had advertised that there was going to be one prize winner. That prize will be a free registration to the Honors Institute that will take place in a couple of weeks. The additional surprise is that there'll be not one winner, but two winners. So one prize is sponsored by the Nevada, California region, and then the other is sponsored by the Nevada, California Regional Alumni Association. So good luck to the winning chapter. The way that it's going to go is that if a chapter is a winner, your chapter will decide on the representative who will attend the Honors Institute. So we're so excited about this. And Jeffrey, the raffle is yours.
All right. Hey, everyone. This is Jeffrey. I'm the Director of Technology. So I will be conducting this wonderful raffle. Let's see if I can share my screen. All right. So we have all the chapters that are attending today. And I would just be fair, give this a good shuffle. What is spinning? There we go. So our first winner Beta Mu Psi at Hartnell College.
Woohoo! All right.
Woohoo!
So is anyone from this chapter present?
Please raise your hand or make a noise or both.
Okay. Anyone for one last final call? Otherwise, we'll have to spin again. Anyone from Hartnell College?
They're not here, Christine.
Okay. All right. We're going to spin again.
Beta Beta Epsilon from Great Basin College. Do we have a representative here?
I got an email from the advisor that couldn't make it.
Oh no. Hey, more chances for everyone else. Third time's a charm. So the winner of the first will be Beta Tau Mu.
Anyone from Maloney College? No. Oh, okay. These are just, oh, so excited to see these chapters too. All right, do it again.
I'm having lots of fun spinning this wheel, so I could do this. Alpha Beta, Santa Ana.
Anyone from that chapter, speak up.
Sally's here.
Yeah, we're all here.
Woohoo!
Perfect.
All right,
All right.
Congratulations.
Congrats, Zach. So you
Guys.
have the first, or the first raffle winner. So let's draw the second one. Let's close. Beta Sigma Rho from Moore Park College.
Hello.
Hey, congrats.
Woohoo! All right. Congratulations.
All right, congrats to the 2 chapters.
All right, so we got our 2 winners. Thank you so much, Jeffrey. I know that was a lot of
Yes.
work getting all those chapters ready.
It was worth spinning the wheel.
Yeah. Fantastic. Okay, so we are down to the last slide here, couple slides here. I'd like to introduce you to the slide for a couple of upcoming virtual events. So we've got the Honors Institute. So 2 of our winners will be attending that for free. And so that will take place on the 23rd to the 25th of June. So it's just in a few weeks. And so you'll get to see Susan Edwards and Patty and Ryan. Really looking forward to this event, and I'll be there as well. We've got a Nevada, California regional event. This is another event. This is a college project event that'll be hosted by Phi Theta Kappa's own Jennifer Stanford and our own former regional coordinator, Charles Klein, and that'll take place on Saturday, July the 24th. We also have an Honors in Action grant deadline. That is coming up pretty soon as well, and the deadline is the 15th of August, 2021. And so check out ptk.org under Honors in Action to check all the information out regarding the grants. And then we have our Fall Leadership Conference, which will be held on the 22nd and 23rd of October. So you'll get to see Miriam and me and the alumni and regional officers. So it'll be great to see you all again. And then finally, we have our next Nevada, California Regional Alumni Association Tea 3 event. So instead of this camouflage hat that I'll be wearing, I'll be back to wearing my tea hat. And that will be held in November 2021. And that will be actually hosted by our Executive Vice President, Sheila Burson. And so thank you, Sheila, for leading that one and for the great homework questions as well. Go on to the next slide. All right, and so for contact information, it's pretty easy. For Susan, Patty, and Ryan, it's their first name dot last name at ptk.org. Believe me, it's been wonderful to reach out to them. As you've gotten to see, they're very, very friendly and approachable and just immensely helpful. You were in for a treat, and it's just been an honor to really get to know them and to work with them and seek their help. And finally, this would not be possible without so many people to thank. Again, I'd like to thank Susan, Ryan, and Patty for your amazing presentations, and Anna and for the officer team for Feather River College. I completely agree, Angelina. Honors in Action will transform you, as well as your experience as being a part of Phi Theta Kappa. Thank you, Miriam Moody, for everything and anything, our Nevada, California Regional Coordinator. It's always a blessing to work with you, and thank you for being our tech guru for the day. You really helped me on this. I also want to give some special thank yous to Giselle Simon from the Beta Phi Lambda chapter. She's the advisor at West Hills College Lemoore. Thank you for introducing me to the QR code. So I'm at least a little bit more technically savvy, and that's a great tool to have. And I also want to thank the chapter advisor and officer team at Chaffey College. Because of their wonderful induction ceremony, I got to learn about the online spinning wheel that you just got to witness. So thank you for them on that. I also want to thank Jessie Sand. She is our Director of Technology with our Nevada, California region for the additional publicity help, getting it through the to the online apps that she manages. And also thank you, Miriam, again, for sending the promotional videos and flyers through our listserv. And above and always, thank you to our wonderful alumni teammates. Again, we all work as equals. It's many of you are my mentors, but it's so wonderful to be your teammate, and this would not be possible without you. So I'm going to go ahead and close the window here. And again, I want to thank everyone for for you being a part of this event. I hope this experience, the beginning of your Phi Theta Kappa journey, your honors and action journeys will eventually transform you in a short amount of time. So it is safe to say that you have graduated from boot camp, and we look forward to seeing you in your next event. Woohoo!
Thank you.
We hope you all have a great afternoon. We're glad that you participated, and take it back to your chapters, because I'm expecting to see lots of honors and action project and theme awards coming out of Catalyst in 2022. Susan, be ready. Patty and Ryan, be ready. That's all I can say. Be ready.
Nevada, California, here we come. We're here to stay.
Thank you. That was fun. Bye-bye.
Glad you enjoyed it.